So last year when I was on Meet Magento India, I didn't even know that, and we are now completely ready. So let's go on. The Adobe Stock is kind of maybe a bit confusing name sometimes in scope of Magento, because we have MSI, that is stock inventory, but Adobe Stock is not related to stock inventory. It's also is not related to shares or any financial thing. Adobe Stock is a service that is provided by Adobe for storing, publishing, and consuming media marketplace. So that's about images, videos, 3D models, templates. Designers can develop the assets and publish them to Adobe Stock, and content managers, website owners, whoever needs to create the content based on images can get the images from the Adobe Stock. Before we started the implementation, for sure, we did some research on how can we improve the admin user experience in Magento. And one of such researchers was related to the media, to the content management. And we were trying to figure out what is used in the content of Magento. So we were providing surveys for merchants, getting their opinions, getting their experience. And one of the surveys was actually trying to understand if Magento merchants are using stock images, if yes, which marketplaces are they working with, and basically how many of the merchants are using stock images. And as a result of survey, we find out that like more than 50% of Magento merchants of Magento web stores are using more or less as part of their content stock images, and 22% of all the merchants are using Adobe Stock images. Considering that Magento is also now the part of Adobe, and Adobe Stock images are required for admin panel, we decided to simplify this experience of adding the image from Adobe Stock, avoid lots of steps when you download the image from Adobe Stock, modify it locally, then upload it to Magento, then insert it to the content, and just implement everything on Magento side. The ability to access the stock images, search for them, and include in the content. So actually, the project is the freshest community project that we were working on. It's just a bit more than 9 months in development, but we already released it in 2.3.4 that came out a couple of days ago, right? And Adobe Stock integration is a core bundled extension. So you can download 2.3.4, open source, or enterprise, and check Adobe Stock integration there. Basically, the only entry points to the images on all the pages all around the admin panel is the media gallery. Media gallery can be used to add images to CMS pages, blogs, categories. The only place you cannot add the images from the media gallery to is the product images. But that actually makes sense for the stock images integration, because usually you wouldn't like to use the stock images for your products that you are selling. If you have some products, you probably have the specific pictures of these products. Stock images are mostly used in the content, like landing pages, category pages, stuff like that. So everywhere except for the project, when you add in an image, you can do it through the media gallery. And that is the entry point to the images. So what we did, we basically modified the media gallery, existing Magento media gallery. Just remember this interface of media gallery. We'll need this image a bit later in the presentation. But right now, I would like to focus on the Adobe Stock, search Adobe Stock button. We added a button, and that was an entry point to our extension. Once the button is clicked, we are opening this additional slide panel with all the images from Adobe Stock integration listed. And actually, there are lots of filters, lots of sorting so that you can find, it provides ability to find the right images really quickly. There is also the preview modes and stuff like that. I will not be able to show all the functionality on this presentation, but if you are interested, just check it out on the latest Magento, because there are a lot of fun to play around. Also, as you can see, there are kind of licensed overlay on some of the images. So Adobe Stock do sell images. So to get the full size of the image, you need to buy the image. But we have two actions. Here is, by the way, the view of the image preview with some additional attributes. You cannot see, but I will tell you that this is save preview action and license and save action. The scene is that sometimes to create the page, you need to try out one or another image, and if you are working with stock images, it can be expensive because each image you are trying in the content, you are paying for it. With the Adobe Stock integration, you can download the preview images that are free. They are a bit smaller in size and have the watermark, but you can create the page using the preview images so that you can have the final picture of the image and like change images there, play with the page, like take your creative time. And finally, when the page is ready, you can license the image you exactly need. That's why we provide the ability to save preview and licensed images. And yeah, once you select the image in Adobe Stock integration, it saves the image to media gallery and then to the content. Here is the page builder where the image is added to. So during the development of Adobe Stock integration, we were thinking about the integration points, about the extensibility, the customizability, and also about the things that are reusable. Like we were not focusing on developing just an extension that will be a product, a single product without any other improvements to Magento. That's why we were trying to extract the components, extract modules, extract the usable functionality, and make it available for future usages. One of the big things that we extracted, and actually that's not part of Adobe Stock integration, because we took it from Adobe Stock integration and contributed to Magento Core, that is new UI components. And here you can see an empty admin page with the new UI component is in use. There is masonry UI component. Like if you take a look back at the Adobe Stock integration implementation and you were working with UI components, UI listings on the backend, anybody was working with UI components in Magento 2? Yeah, good. So you may notice that the tool set is really like any other grid, like product grid, order grid, and basically those images is a UI listing in Magento. That's not some custom component, that basic UI listing that is, so you're able to use it with any other components that works with UI listing. So you can add standard filters here. There are no bookmarks on this picture, but you can add bookmarks component and pretty much any other component developed for admin grid. So extracting this is a pure UI grid component that is called masonry component, and it's available in Magento 2, 3, 4, and latest to 3 developed to 4 developed branches. The grid component helps to render the images in a responsive way and pretty much resize everything and handle everything you need to display images in this way quite prettily. Also, we added the overlay component that is adding the overlay on over images. You can use it on backend and frontend, not just with the grid, but separately. If you need to add some overlays to your pictures, now you can do it with the UI components. And that one in the middle, that is a preview component that works together with the masonry grid and if you would like, you can add the preview to the grid so that you can see more details of the picture and navigate through the pictures. So that is not really linked to Adobe Stock integration. You can use it with any extension anywhere you need to work with the images. That is the configuration, a bit simplified, but the configuration for the components that we developed. Basically, that declaration corresponds to that grid. There is a listing, the columns of the masonry component, there is an overlay, URL, and preview. You can pretty much drop the preview and overlay if you don't need them and just use URL to render the images grid. Also, one thing that was developed and added to 2.3.4 release was the Media Gallery module. Media Gallery module is a new module in the latest Magento release that provides ability to store attributes of the media. Right now we are storing some basic attributes and keywords for the image. For now, with the Adobe Stock integration is basically the only extension that is using this capability and filling the storage with the image attributes that can be used later. The images that are uploaded from the Magento admin in 2.3.4 are not populated and are still not working with the data storage in the database for the attributes. But that's something we are working on for our next release. So we have completed that work, implemented the Adobe Stock integration, implemented the very nice new UI components for UI Grid, and then if you can bring back in the memory the look of the media gallery in Magento that I asked you to remember. We took a look at the media gallery and decided that probably we can apply the UI components that we developed and improve the media gallery of Magento, because we have all the experience and we have all the tools to do this. So as part of 2.4 Magento, and that will be Adobe Stock Integration 1.1, we are actually doing more work on the Magento side, improving the media gallery and introducing the interface that will look like this. That is already in progress, and on the latest Adobe Stock Integration 1.1 develop branch, you will see the media gallery, the new media gallery in place. That's completely backward compatible, that's switchable in the configuration, so you can switch between old and new media galleries using the configuration switch. But in the new media gallery, you have the ability to render your images in a nicer way, apply the same, use the same UI components that are compatible with listing UI components like filters, paginations, search, and stuff like that. And search here and filters now require the usage of the attributes. So to search the image, you might want to have the keywords assigned to the image, the title, and any other attributes you would like to use for searching. And now we are actually we are starting to use fully the Magento Media Gallery module, and we are going to store all the information related to the images, to the media files in the database, and that's how we are going to enable the functionality of the grid itself. As you can see, the same overlay is here. There are marks of the actually the source of an image that is a small icon of Adobe Stock. That means that image was downloaded from Adobe Stock. Actually, the extensions of functionality was implemented in a way that allows to implement your own stock integration quite easily using the things that we did with Adobe Stock, like any other stock, Shutterstock, things like that. So we consider that there can be different sources: stock, Adobe Stock, any other image source, or just upload from local machine. As part of that, we also add in additional actions for working with images and additional details. For example, opening from the context menu view details on an image, we'll bring up the slide panel with the image details, like rendering all the attributes we are storing in the database and attributes related to the stock as well. And there is one interesting addition here. We are going to track where images are being used. So you will be able to see from the image that this particular image is used on, in this case, one page, one category, and 2 products. Having that in place, first of all, when we are doing any operations with the image, we'll know which areas it will affect, so probably it will help to work with cache invalidation a little bit. But the main point here is also that you will see which images are not used, like which images can be removed, and that way you will optimize your media storage that sometimes gets like a lot of obsolete files. Finally, we are adding some tools for working with images, for editing images within the Adobe admin, within the Magento admin. So that's Resize. For now, we are starting with the resize of the image because, for example, downloading the image from Adobe Stock, the licensed image has quite big resolution, and you might want it in different sizes in your content. So our concept of resize that we are currently working on is create specific renditions for each instance of the content you are using image in. So each time you are inserting the image, we will provide the ability to select either the desktop and mobile sizes for the same picture, and appropriate renditions will be generated. The plan is to implement it in 2 ways depending on configuration. The first way is just generating renditions locally as files. They will not be seen in the media gallery, they will be stored separately, but they will be used in the content instead of the original image. And because of the linkage between the image and places where the image is used, we'll be able to handle it, flush it when necessary, and not keep any rubbish in the media. And the second approach is actually something that was already covered in the presentation earlier today by the ability of CDN to generate renditions. So if you are using CDN Fastly or any proxy that supports creating renditions on their site, not to put additional load on Magento site, you'll be able to switch the configuration, and specific configuration will be inserted as an image to the content, to the HTML content, that will tell the proxy to generate selected renditions. So a bit of general technical details on how the module, how the extension is structured, how the implementation was done. First of all, it's based on Adobe Stock API. Adobe Stock API is actually provided for PHP by the PHP SDK. Adobe Stock API actually has lots of SDKs for lots of programming languages. We are using Stock API lib PHP that is open source. We also managed to contribute to improve it a bit during the development of Adobe Stock integration and contribute to that repository as well. So I think that that's also the first project where we worked really closely with Adobe team. So Adobe Stock guys were participating at our meetings, were participating at our decision makings, help us to utilize Adobe Stock API the most effectively, and we also pay them back by testing via our extension and improving and fixing some issues with the SDK. As I said, there are some contributions to Magento made already, so that is UI components that are in Magento UI module. Magento Media Gallery is a new module that allows to work with media assets data, metadata, attributes. There is Adobe IMS developed as a separate module, And Adobe IMS is the entry point to all Adobe services. Like that's an ability to log in to Adobe service and use the information. Like in Adobe Stock integration, for example, you can log into license an image. There are lots of Adobe services that can be used with Magento, and any extension or any customization that require any Adobe service now can use this module to authenticate the admin user to the service and use its capabilities. So Adobe IMS can be used separately from Adobe Stock. It doesn't depend on the actually Adobe Stock extension. And there is a big Adobe Stock extension implementation, and it is done in a layered way. We have the UI parts implemented in a separate modules, client, asset, and image layers also in a separate modules. We also do have an API modules for each of Adobe's for each of core Adobe Stock modules, and I think that is a really great approach on developing flexible kind of package, because what it allows, it is enabling the customization. If you need to change the UI and you don't want to change the logic, you can replace the UI modules only without touching any other modules of Adobe Stock and change the UI. If you would like to change or customize the implementation of some specific core modules, like just work with the images or work with the assets in general, it's different for images and assets because we are considering working with other assets as well, like videos and stuff in future. And client is very low level, just communication to the API. So you can replace the implementation of one of these modules and just implement the API module for these modules. And as all other modules depend on the API modules instead of the depending on actual implementation, that will not create a conflict. And yeah, my favorite part of the presentation is actually how it's getting done. Adobe Stock integration is completely built by community. Is created by awesome Magento community, by actually you guys, and it was implemented in 4 repositories actually. The Adobe Stock integration, our main repository where all the information, wiki pages, dashboards are. Magento 2 repositories. We work a lot with Magento 2 to deliver the core components we do, and SDK repository, and there is a separate Adobe IMS repository. Right now, Adobe IMS modules are in Adobe Stock integration repository, but we are going to separate them soon, just to be able to make a separate release. Right now, you can fetch the Adobe IMS modules separately from Adobe Stock integration. It just released together with Adobe Stock. That's something we are planning to do. Yeah, you can see all the backlog. Check what we are planning to do, what we have done on in 2 places. The first one is the project dashboard. The second one is our ZenHub. Just if you're not sure about the links, visit the Adobe Stock integration repository, and you'll find all the links in the wiki. Our main communication point is Adobe Stock channel on Slack, and this QR code is, by the way, is the link to Community Engineering Slack. If you are not there yet, recommend you to join, because lots of interesting stuff are going on there. There are channels for all possible projects, all possible interests. And yeah, every week on Tuesday, late night Indian time, we have we have a call that is recorded and posted on YouTube channel on Community Engineering. So I know that some guys are participating, though it's really late. And even if you are not participating at the call, you can watch the video on the YouTube later, or if you want to follow the progress, you can do this as well. And guys, that's all. That all presentation was about the stuff that was implemented by contributors. I know the contributors are here in this room, and I would like to say thank you. Thank you, guys, and let's make them a round of applause. Because that's a large and very sophisticated part of functionality to be implemented, and yeah, that was really cool, and I'm enjoying working with you guys. And yeah, thanks partners for supporting the contributors. Thanks for providing them ability to contribute. Thanks.
Thank you.